A very good evening, everyone, and once again, welcome back to the session. So today we are starting with functions. So we have seen a couple of things with respect to loops, right? Where we have seen nested loops, we have seen conditional statements within loops, right? We have seen list comprehensions also. So today we are going to start with functions where we can define a function, right? So that it can be a custom based function and there are inbuilt functions also. So these function blocks, whatever we are trying to use, there are certain rules are there to define a function in Python. So function blocks, they begin with the keyword def followed by the function name, and you have to give a parenthesis. So you can give n number of parameters, arguments, you can give it in the parenthesis, and you have to define certain parameters here inside this. So any statement you have, right, you may have bunch of lines of code here, but the code block within every function, it will always start with a colon, and that also is indented. Okay, you can use return statements, you can write your own logics, and you can also just give print function also here, which is an inbuilt function. Okay, so the thing is, if we are defining a function, if you just put your cursor anywhere on that particular defined function, it will throw you an error, because for any defined function, if it is a user defined function, you have you have something which is starting, you know where it starts, but you don't have where it is going to end. There is no conclusion point for that. So for that reason, Python cannot understand. So it will start, but where it is ending, this is not having any clue. So what you have to do is you have to select the entire code and then run it. Otherwise, it will spill out the errors. Okay. So here now, what are actually needed for us to create and call a function? So certain things like, you have to include a header, right? You have to include a function name, whatever logic you want to write, like you want to find out cube of a number, square root of a number, area, perimeter, circumference, anything, that will be the body. And you have to call the function anywhere throughout your 1000 lines of code also, right? So here there is no restriction on, function definitely will have a print statement, as I told you, and you can also replace it with a return statement, right? But a return and return statement is not absolutely required to create a function. So Ashutosh, I want you to write a code where you want to pass, right?
Yeah.
By reference versus value.
Okay. So, guys, first of all, a very good evening to everyone, and welcome to this session by 360DigiTMG that we have been, organizing for you guys, so that you can have a clarity about how to face the potential Python questions that will be asked in the interview. Now, coming to the question that our friend Vinti has asked over here, and she basically asked me to write a code that can be, that we have to write in reference to pass by reference versus value.
Exactly.
So allow me to share my screen, and then I'll be giving you a walkthrough of how to deal with this kind of situation. I hope my screen is visible, guys. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Wonderful.
Yeah.
So first we have to define a function, guys. Suppose here I'm defining a function, say function name is change me, and I'm saying list one over here, giving a colon mark, and then I'm saying I want this changes a past list into this function. And then I'm saying list1 dot append. You guys are aware of, why to use the append. We have seen that yesterday and we have, implemented that as well. And I'm saying I want to give some values, say 1, 2, 3, 4 over here. My bad. I guess here I have to give proper spacing. List1 dot append. There is something wrong over here. Well, let us see. And then I'm saying print values inside the function. Comma list1. And then I'm using
space is something.
Yeah, that is also what I'm assuming. Let me check it out.
No, list1. There's a space between
List and one. Yeah, okay, yeah. Because the space is given over here. If you observe over here why this problem was occurring, here I have defined the list1 and I'm giving a space
Just
between
don't give
list and
space.
one. Yeah.
Remove that space. Oh, that will be easy.
Yeah. List1 and here also I'm giving the space. Yeah. And then I'm saying print. Again, here I have to take care of the space. And then I'm saying return. Once that is done, here I've defined my function. After defining my function, I'm going to use that. Say list1 is equal to, I'm giving some values over here. Say 10, 20, 30 over here. And then I'm saying change name. This is the function that I'm actually going to, define over here. Once it is defined while running this code, I'll be using this in this particular step. I'm using your change name and I'm saying list1. My bad. Change. And then I'm saying print values outside the function. Right? Comma list1. Now, when I will execute this, you are seeing what is happening is first I am defining my user-defined function over here. When we talk about Python programming language, the functions are basically of two types. One is your user-defined and one is your predefined function. Now, in some instances, we need to define a function. So here, if you're observing, I defined the function over here. And as you said, Deepti, when we are making a user-defined function, we have to run it on a whole. If you just place a cursor over here and if you try to execute it, obviously it is going to throw the error. Now here in these lines, when the function change has been defined, once it is defined, I'm trying to use that function over here, which is actually performing these tasks just by giving the word change. And hence, this is giving me this particular output. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah. So it's that, as I have mentioned, you are starting your function. You define your function using DEF. Here, change me is a function name, and list one is what you have to pass as an argument when you define, when you use that particular function name. So this change me can be used anywhere in the code. If you have 200 lines, 300 lines of code, also anywhere you call that particular name of the function, you can perform that
all these
append
things
options, that whatever the lines of code. So from list one.append is called as the body of the function. As I told you, you can also use a print statement. You can also have a return statement. Basically, people always have a confusion between when to use a print and return. Return is used when you can directly perform one computation. The output is directly given without using any print statement. So print will not do anything. It just prints whatever you are giving to it. It does not add anything or delete anything. It just gives, okay, you have done it. No computation is performed in the just by print function. So here Ashutosh has defined a function which is change me, which is his own name, his defined function. But print is something which is given by the Python.
Right.
So that is predefined functions what we have here. So moving forward here, I would like to know from Bharat, right? What are these functional arguments?
Okay, when you're dealing with functions, we have certain arguments. Okay, there are different arguments in Python programming terminology. We call these as arguments. Okay, so basically we have different types of formal arguments. Okay, to name few, I would like to mention that these are called as required arguments. We also have keyword arguments, default arguments, and not lastly, but a couple of them are also there. And we also have variable length arguments. Okay, these are few arguments that we have.
Okay, actually, what is an argument?
Well, see, there are different meanings to it when it comes to argument. However, from a Python programming's perspective, okay, from Python programming terminology, we can call an argument or a parameter of a variable, or a parameter or an argument is a variable listed inside the parenthesis of a function definition. Okay, and then once we have this argument in this values, these are sent back to the function, and then it is called a argument. And then within the arguments you have different arguments. You have a default, you have functions that will have a correct number of arguments, meaning you should have, when you're calling a function, you should have a right number of arguments. If you are not passing the right number of arguments and you're calling the function, it will not give you the desired result. Okay, what I mean by that is, let's say you have two parameters that you have in a particular function, and then you are passing those parameters. Let's say you are only passing one parameter and you are expecting a result out of it, then definitely it will not give you the ultimate result. What I can do is, apart from this explanation, I can also give a example how a function looks like, what is a typical function, along with it what we are dealing with arguments. When we say arguments, what are we talking about? I can do that if you allow me to share the screen.
Bharat, explain the code detailedly, because one of our viewer is asking to explain the code in detailedly. Okay, how you define it and all that.
Okay. Okay. So we haven't dealt with the code yet. It was the explanation that we have given. So
no, not this. Earlier Ashutosh lines of code. So you can do that.
Okay.
Your code also the same, right? You are writing a user defined function.
That is correct. So we are dealing with arguments. Let me.
Bharat?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Are you able to see my screen? Okay. So what we have is a default function. How do we define? This is a function. This is a function name. And then here you have the arguments. And within the arguments, let's say I mentioned first name, comma, last name, right? And then I will print these values. So here I will say first name plus last name. Okay. So now what do I have here? So if I say name, now this I'm calling the function, I'm saying name.
But write it in a different cell. Let
Yes,
that,
I'll do that.
yeah, you just execute this line, then you write.
Different cell?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And then here I'm passing the arguments. Okay. I'm picking random names. Okay. And then what happens if I execute? Let me execute this. Even before I execute this, I have to execute. It will be initiated. Understood?
Yeah. So you are giving two arguments. One is first name and the last name. Suppose if you are giving a space, yeah, definitely.
Yes. So here we can give spaces and we are giving a argument. So what we are the parameter that we are passing is the values. Okay. So
But
these are
remove one param, one argument here. Like remove Rani
okay.
or
So what happens? When I gave an example explanation that we should have set number of arguments to get the right result. You cannot call the function without the right number of arguments. What will happen if I do that? Let's say I call you know What is happening? It is giving that positional argument error. It says that one of the argument is missing because these are positioned. There are two positional arguments. That means one of it is missing. So it will by default take two arguments. Okay, one is last name and one is first name, and then you have last name. So it is also indicating, if you look at the error, it will indicate that which one of it is mentioned. Okay, we by default, we've skipped the first positional argument and then we mentioned the last name right away.
Okay. Right. Thank you, Verit. Yeah, Ashutosh, can you explain me with the, like he has given certain arguments here with position. So can we do it with giving some default arguments?
Yeah, Deepti, see, when we are talking about default arguments, Python program arguments can have your defined values. So if we assign a default value to an argument using, say, an assignment operator. So when we call a function without a value for that argument, it is default value that is being used. So I would rather, like to share my screen and show you.
Ashutosh, can you quickly explain the above code now once one of the participants is requesting?
Okay, see what is happening over here is first I'm defining.
Maximize your screen.
Okay.
Yeah.
See what is happening over here. I am trying to define a function. Now the name of this function could be anything, whatever you wish to. So here the name I've given is change. And this is the list that I'm giving for which I want this particular function to be used. So this is the list one I've given over here. And then I'm saying this changes the past list into this function. Now what I'm doing is I'm using my append function also over here. So the values that is keep being generated, that is getting appended into this list variable over here. So basically in these lines, I am trying to create a user-defined function. And once that is created, I am trying to use that for my particular, code that instance where I want to use. So this is what I'm doing initially. Okay. Now coming to the question that you have asked. So here, say I am defining a variable, say def, greetings, name is equal to, say user. And then I'm saying print edge hello, comma, name. Just a moment. Should be here. And then I'm saying input. Oh, let me just. Should I run this first, Deepti?
Yeah. Yes. Run that. Now you can call greeting.
Sorry?
Now you can call the function name greeting.
Yeah.
Second line.
Say I'm saying input greeting.
That input is not required now. I think only greeting. You're just calling the
Just a moment. My bad. If I just run this. Just a moment.
Call the function name greeting.
Oh, yeah.
I think you can give.
Just a moment, guys. Let me figure it out. What is wrong over here? Okay.
Yeah. So when you give
If-
this, okay.
So let me run this. So it is showing me hello Ash.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you just give greeting without giving
Yeah.
without giving any name,
Let me
just
run
call
this.
greeting.
So it is asking me for a username. If you observe over here, so what is happening is if here we call greeting
Okay.
without an argument, the name takes on its defined value as your user over here. So it is taking the default value, as I was telling you previously. Any number of arguments can have a defined value, but you must make sure to not have a non-default argument after a default argument. In other words, if you provide a default argument, all others succeeding it must have defined values as sorry, default values as.
Okay.
So the reason is quite simple. When we are talking about this, the reason behind this is quite simple. You have a function which is having two parameters. The first argument is having a default value, but the second one is not having the default value. Now, when you will call it, you must provide only one argument, or you provide only, one argument rather. Let me rephrase. And the interpreter takes it to be the first argument. So what happens to the second argument then? Any idea what will happen over there? Suppose, yeah, Dipti.
No. I'm just thinking that if we are not giving it, it has to throw some error, right? Because
Exactly. So here,
it's not having any
say,
clue.
yeah. So here, say I'm defining a variable sum is equal to sum a is equal to 1, comma, c. Yeah. And let me run this. Okay. Let me run this. And if I say return a plus b. Now, this is going to throw some error. See. So non-default argument follows a default argument. So that is why it is throwing the error over here. So the first argument has a default value, but the second argument does not have. Now, what is happening is when you are calling it, you will provide only one argument. The interpreter over here takes it to be the first argument, and what will happen? It is going to throw the error. Yeah, Dipti, over to you.
Yeah. Ashutosh, one more question I have. Can you go to the greeting function? Yeah. You can copy that greeting.
Yeah.
Take a new cell. Anywhere. Yeah. Yeah. Copy that.
Copy or paste. Yeah.
Yeah. Close the open and close parenthesis after that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you run this?
Yeah, sure.
You have not given a default argument. Sorry, you have not given any particular argument in greetings. It is a dependent function, so it is taking your default argument, right?
Exactly.
When you give any name, earlier you have given your name, so it has printed hello Ashutosh. Now it has printed hello user because you did not give anything.
Exactly. So here, if I am saying say Ashutosh, So it is going to print me my name.
Yeah.
Hello, Ashish. But if I'm not giving anything over here, then by default it is going to take user.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, I was just looking at that. Okay. Okay, friends, thank you all for joining in. Thank you so much. So today we have covered with the functions, so we are going to continue the same tomorrow also. Thank you all for joining in. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Please follow us on LinkedIn and also on Facebook. Right? Thank you all for watching the recorded videos. Right? And please share it across.
Thank you,
Thank you
guys. Thank you.
Thank you everyone for joining.